Good evening and welcome to Movement Talks. I'm Edward Henkel, your host, and I want to thank each and every one of you for being here this evening to this, our second program in the Movement Talks series. Dance, as a catalyst for change, can be successfully conveyed to a wider public and in more ways than that public was previously aware. Our program this evening, Embodying Empathy, Dance and Social Integration, with David Alan Harris, shifts the focus on dance from the physical environment to the social environment. David Alan Harris, formerly a choreographer, is a dance movement therapist who specializes in fostering recovery among people who are survivors of human rights abuse and war. After my introduction, I have asked Dr. Miriam Roskenberger, founder and past president of the American Dance Therapy Association, and currently the director of the dance therapy program here at the 92nd Street Y, to give us a brief snapshot of dance therapy on the international scene.
The future challenge to the global dance therapy community, I think, is sort of simple, is that we have to continue to expand the creative use of dance as a power to transform and heal, not only as a treatment for pathology and suffering, but as a means for mutual understanding between different ethnicities, religions, and nations, hopefully making a contribution for peace and demonstrating the core theme of these movement talks, as Edward has said, dance as a catalyst for change. Thank you.
Please welcome David Alan Harris.
I'm here this evening to share some stories from my work as a dance movement therapist by monitoring our bodily experiences while we're taking on those of the dancers. We're practicing a body awareness technique that's akin to a phenomenon pivotal in our field, what Mimi just referred to, dance movement therapists refer to as kinesthetic empathy, an empathy known through body movements. I'd like you to come back with me almost 6 years to one stiflingly hot day in March 2005, to arguably the most devastated corner of the least developed of West African nations, Sierra Leone. The 11-year war that ravaged the country lies another 4 years behind us. I had come that day to Kwendu, a remote outpost within an easy walk of the point that the country abuts both Liberia and Guinea, to join a team of psychosocial counselors, paraprofessionals whom I supervised in a community healing and torture recovery program designed to build local capacity. The Kwendu team and I had arranged to screen a video that day called Witness to Truth, endorsed by the country's Truth and Reconciliation Commission as a means of sharing findings from its investigation into a war that had decimated the nation. For this day's audience, local primary schools had delivered 500 green tunic-clad children for the occasion of a special history lesson, crammed together onto backless wooden benches in the town's second largest mud and cement structure after the central mosque. The girls and boys fidgeted and sweated through a screening interrupted by repeated power outages that more than once necessitated restarting the film from the opening titles. No building in the area had access to electricity, so this was probably the first time most of these kids would see a film projected, in this case onto oversized sheet on stilts. Many in the audience could scarcely hear the Creole narration over the roar of the petrol generator we borrowed for the showing. except for an occasional communal gasp at what they saw on screen. The children were quiet throughout, and virtually every face was riveted to the screen. It was unclear how far back toward wartime watching Witness to Truth may have transported these children, nor how difficult it might have been to re-emerge afterward with the energy they'd need to complete the daunting tasks of a Sierra Leonean childhood, the back-breaking work expected at all hours. Aware of the film's potentially nightmarish impact, the following day, we counselors gathered together more than 50 of the young viewers for a discussion. This time, we drew the benches closely together in a circle in the hope that intimacy might help contain and hold difficult emotions. After first affirming the normality of feeling upset about the cruelties witnessed in life, especially the kind suffered during the war, the facilitating counselor opened the floor to the children's comments on what they'd seen. Early on, a small girl of around 10 put up her hand and timidly asked leave to speak. Grasping her skirt in one hand, she then rose to her feet and in a mildly rambling dissertation on events that had to have taken place several years before, told her peers about her ordeals. Captured with an uncle by rebels in Liberia, she disclosed. She'd witnessed them stage a sort of lottery for him, writing 3 possible modes of death on slips of paper, dropping them into a pot, and making the man himself draw from the vessel the slip with his destiny, as if his fate had been preordained by some avenging deity. Rather than being shot blindfolded or drowned in a nearby stream, the kindly man who had cared for her after her parents' killings was scalded to death with boiling oil, quietly sharing her inescapable memories with us. This little child, who couldn't have been more than 7 at the time, had been forced to watch it all. Like her peers, we counselors were stunned that day in the schoolhouse. And now, as I think back on that little girl whose name I didn't even know, I'm compelled to ask, how on earth did she manage? But what I examine this evening is simpler. A role for dance in healing after atrocity. How dancing helps people endure it. How dance may help empower people to bring renewal to decimated communities. By claiming the liberty to grieve their own losses, at least within the safe confines of the counseling setting, the former combatants began to attune as well to the losses others had suffered under them. Incremental progress in relearning empathy for others, particularly those whom they had harmed, enabled at once a deepening capacity to care for and respect themselves, as well as their peers, us counselors, and the community at large. The teenage ex-fighters' sincere pursuit of means to assimilate and symbolize their sense of responsibility and their desire for forgiveness and renewed belonging stand as an evocative archetype of a profound human potential for healing after atrocity and reconciliation after conflict. Without the dancing, it never would have happened.